It's time for the Film Crickets with Jay Fortier, Chris Martineau, and Melanie Howerton. On this week's episode, our good friend Mistress Carrie returns to the show, and Jay, Chris, Melanie, and Carrie review the 1978 American jukebox musical comedy film, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
To say thank you on behalf of the group and ourselves, I hope we pass the audition.
Does it stand the test of time? Let's find out. Your Film Crickets are on now.
All right. Hey, friends, and welcome to the Film Crickets. It's a podcast where we talk about movies from 1980 to 1999 and decide beyond a shadow of a doubt whether or not these movies stand the test of time. I am your co-host, Jay Fortier. I'm along with my good friend, Chris Martineau.
Hello, what's happening?
Hey, what's up? And along with my good friend and co-host, Melanie Howerton.
Hey.
Hey, and welcome back once again. We haven't seen her in a little while. I think, what was it, The Wraith? I'm sorry about that.
You should be.
So we have Mistress Carrie. Welcome again.
What's up, guys? Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you, Melanie.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on. I like your room, by the way.
Oh, thank you. This is MCHQ.
It
All
looks
the
really
magic
cool.
happens.
I like it.
Oh,
Mostly magic.
we conjure the darkness here at MCHQ.
So how about Steve playing the clip of the actual Beatles?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
helpful. I gotta tell you, the moment I stopped watching this movie for the second and a half time, I immediately put on real Beatles music because it reminds you how basically perfect the Beatles were in general and just writing music. But anyway, we're not gonna start right away. Let's get into Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Not bland. It's anything but bland. This movie's not bland.
I
at
appreciate
all.
you guys stretching the show from 1980 to 1978.
Yeah.
this
Oh, yeah.
movie.
No,
For you?
we've broken some rules here and there. Like we did Halloween from 1978 as well. Same year, by the way, that Donald Pleasance graced us with this movie. Donald Pleasance in both films. I was asking myself, I was like, hey, I wonder if he went like, I gotta be in the stupid horror movie, and then I'm gonna be in this. No, probably thinking that one is going to be bigger than the other, and assuming that the one with the Bee Gees was gonna totally outdo that little tiny horror movie that had no budget whatsoever.
So I just usually go around and say, how many people watch this. And I don't know that this was on a lot of people's high rotation. We usually go around, what's your history with this movie? I would like to do this quick because I want to get into breaking this movie down. No doubt about it. We have to go, what's going on here? But before we go into it, your history with this movie, usually I go somewhere else. I'll start with this. I saw this movie when it came out. No, check that. I saw this movie when I was about 5. Must have been about 1980, 1981. My sister was a diehard Beatles fan. It was on my TV. I watched it on a TV TVs were still big pieces of furniture. A lot of wood, a lot of glass. You know what I mean? You had the thing on top that would adjust the antenna. And I remember that, my sister was always playing Beatles music, so I knew the songs. And I remember seeing this movie up to the point where the Lonely Hearts Club Band is seduced by the agent, and there's a scene where they take drugs and pass out and sign a contract, and I remember it making me very uncomfortable because I was a child and I don't know, why are these nice men doing these drugs and having an orgy basically. So that was all. I never saw past that, and then the rumor mill starts to go this movie has a terrible reputation. And I'm gonna be a pseudo defender on it, but that's my history with this. Let's go to Carrie next. We started to talk about this before. What's your history with this movie previous to today?
Well, I didn't have an older sister. I had a mom who introduced me to the Beatles, and that is the greatest gift as a mom that she gave me is a love and appreciation of the Beatles and also of music in general. And so for me, growing up, I don't remember the first time I saw this movie. I just remember that it is such a huge part of my childhood because once it came out, like you said, it was on the TV all the time, that it was on rerun and it would come in on broadcast TV all the time. And A, because I knew all the songs. I think B, because there were so many movies of the era that I loved with George Burns, who I loved as a kid. that I loved it so much, and also because of the sound effects and like it was very kid friendly, and so I just remember.
Except for the drugs and the orgy.
Well, I mean, I didn't know what that was, but I will tell you that I developed an inherent fear of Aerosmith because of Strawberry Field when I was a kid. I hated Steven Tyler and the guys in Aerosmith because they were the bad guys in the movie. But this movie is such a huge part of my childhood that it's impossible for me to focus on the negative.
I know what she's saying. Like there are movies that I refuse to hate. Sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like just regardless of how bad I can see it. Like whatever. Like I'll watch a movie and I'll go, I know I get it. However, like you know, it just like I refuse to go there because I love it. It's like, you know, I allow myself to be 12.
It means something to me in my core that it is a childhood memory, the way that like I remember getting ice cream at my favorite place. Like it's in my DNA.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So Jay, what's your deal? It's the same as me and Mrs. Carrie, or is
it was on I believe Channel 56 when I was a kid. Okay. My brother, that's in Boston, by the way. Anybody outside of this area. And my brother had recorded, like, there was like a Memorial Day weekend tribute to the Beatles. It was like 1980 or whatever, 1981. And like he recorded as much as he could with a cassette player. Like, he was like, "Yeah, we got a recorder." So, you know, so we were just getting like pumped on the Beatles. Then you hear like it's going to be on Channel 56, and then we were just like, even my brother was like, he was like in the 7th grade. Both of them were in the 7th grade, and they both went like we were all kind of going, like
that's curious.
Even then, kind of picking up like, what the hell is this? Like you know, it kind of hit us in a weird, like, as it should have, because it was really designed oddly, like with those weird robots and like, you know, a weird butt massage for the Mr. Mustard guy. Yeah. Like, you know, but no, there are bright spops though. Which we will get into. There are bright spots. Agree. So like, I don't want to make it sound like it's off the top rope, but you know, like, so you know, it's So that was pretty much my history. And then the only time I would always bump into it, like if I ever came across it, it was always around when the modern Sgt. Pepper guy started singing "Get Back." Like, you know, like it was always towards the end.
Oh yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. The very end.
Yeah.
The magical man who could have saved the whole thing from the beginning, but whatever. Okay. So besides that, I didn't know we could. You know, not a lot of movies you can resurrect somebody from the dead and nobody asks any questions. Melanie, where are you with this? Where are you with this movie? What was your history? Was this the first time?
No.
No.
So it was not a first. Well, I want to say I'm like Mistress Carrie is the fact that music was always a huge part of my mom's life too. My mom had every record that you could ever think of in your life. She had the best record collection, from everything from like Meatloaf to Aerosmith to the Rolling Stones to the Beatles. I mean, anything in the world that you could ever think of. And so I always grew up listening to all that music. So I love all that music, but I only remember watching bits and pieces of this movie from time to time. It always seemed to be on at my grandmother's house. And with the huge, like you said, big floor model TV that was on the floor, and just saw bits and pieces. Like I remember like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds scene, but for some weird reason in my mind, that was sung by Tina Turner. And so I couldn't wait to see that part, because I thought that, you know, because I knew she was in it. I didn't know she was just going to be in that teensy little bit on the end. And I was confusing some of the pieces of it with Tommy, because I had seen that same thing. So I didn't really ever watch the entire thing all the way through. So this was quite an experience. I watched it with my daughter, and it took us like 10,000 hours to watch this, because we kept pausing it to talk about it. And it took me about, I don't know, 5 White Claws to get through it. So,
all right.
That should be a new film rating.
Yes.
How many White
Five
Claws?
White
How many
White
White Claws it takes to get through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
We keep doing that until they're a sponsor. Come on, baby.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, let's do the IMDb breakdown, and then we'll. I got an opening question I want to talk about. Actually, just an observation. So today we're talking about Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It came out in 1978, rated PG, at a hour and 53 minutes. Too long.
It seems like 5 hours.
Anyway, a small town. Oh God, it's so long. A small town band hits it big, but it must battle a nefarious plot, quote unquote. I put the quotes in the music industry. Director Michael Schultz, writer Henry Edwards, Tom O'Horgan, Robin Wagner. We are starring Peter Frampton, the Bee Gees, and they just put the Bee Gees, but Barry, Robin, and Maurice, Frankie Howard, Paul Nichols, Donald Pleasance, Sandy Farina, Steve Martin, Aerosmith, Alice Cooper, Earth, Wind, and Fire. That was the best. George Burns, Billy Preston, and a host of others, and we're not even going to get into the final scene where we see Seals and Croft and Carol Channing next to Tina Turner and 1,000 other people. Johnny Winter is in the final
young
scene.
Bonnie Raitt.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Robert
A
Palmer.
very
Young Bonnie Raitt is
Raitt.
in it. Yep. So
Yeah.
so guys, let's look at this movie, right? 1978 comes out. How could it fail? How could it fail? It's got the Bee Gees in it. It's got Pete Frampton right out of Frampton Comes Alive. We got Donald Pleasance coming off of Halloween. We got Aerosmith, like a giant band, right?
It didn't fail. What do you mean? How could
It made
fail?
$7 million. It made $7 million.
It's
It's a
beloved.
failure.
I'll
Okay,
tell you
fine.
how it failed because I got trivia.
Okay, all right.
Wait, TMI. No, I'm just kidding. No, I
Yeah.
play the intro.
But I mean, it's got so many things going for it. It really does. The guy that directed Car Wash did this movie, right? It's got.
But the guy who
70s
wrote
written-
it wrote one
Yeah.
other film.
Oh,
Yeah.
Was it anything? What was it?
I don't know, some spy movie or something.
Okay, so
But I think that was after. I don't think he had written
Right.
anything.
No, he had
before.
nothing prior.
Yeah, exactly.
Words.
Yeah, there's it.
And let's not forget too, Steve Martin, who had the #2 album in the country with Wild and Crazy Guy at the time, right? Alice Cooper, so everybody involved with this was gilded with gold, and you got to say it's a hot mess. I understand it's a hot mess, right? So the question is, how much Coke? A little Coke or all the Coke?
All the
We
Coke.
went into all the Coke, right? I mean, basically, we're not talking snuff box. We're talking giant rails to get this thing done. Am I mistaken in terms of? Okay, so guys, here's the thing. So I'm walking in now. We're going to talk about this movie, right? And I got to tell you something. So here's the thing. Nowadays, Mamma Mia comes out, right? Or you have all these Broadway shows that take one artist and they string a story together by forcing a bunch of songs into each other, right? Mamma Mia does it. Jersey Boys. There's one for Billy Joel. There's one for. I'm not talking Queen, where it's a biopic. I mean, you take a bunch of songs and you make them all fit a storyline. Mamma Mia does. I don't like Mamma Mia, but it does it pretty well. And I'm watching this movie, thinking everyone says this movie's terrible. So I walk. I'm into it. I'm like, look at the Bee Gees. They're adorable. The Bee Gees are adorable.
They're
Tell
so
me
good.
I'm wrong.
They're so
They're so
talented.
good. They're so talented.
1978, no one hated the Bee Gees in 1978.
No.
Right, and with age, if you ask 14-year-old me, heavy metal me, I'd be like, fuck the Bee Gees.
Yeah,
but no, you got to
because-
recognize that they are very, very good.
I had a Bee
Very-
Gees record player. It was
There you
white
go.
and purple.
Right? So they start the whole thing, and it's obviously goofy, like Magical Mystery Tour goofy. I mean, where's the opening battle? Mistress Carrie?
Wait,
The opening flew to Coop
What do you mean opening battle?
in World War I.
The war that ended all
The war scene. And they say
Wait.
that
okay, go ahead.
the place where they fight the first battle, where Sergeant Pepper's first comes in to bring about peace, was in a place called Flew the Coop. FLEUDE, COUP. Right? So it's obviously goofy. It's fine.
Right.
It's fine. It's goofy, right?
Well, yeah,
And
there
when
is
Sergeant-
no place called Hotland, USA.
I know, but
You know? No, along with Flew to Coop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Right.
You can't,
Right.
nobody just has a town without a state,
and so they're starting, and it's like, oh my, I'm like, it's fantastical, George Burns. I did not expect that.
I have a
forgot
question.
He was in it. Yeah.
Was George Burns ever young?
No.
No.
No, like, you know what I mean? Like, all throughout the 70s, he still had that frail walk. Like, and then he was there throughout the 80s looking the same. It's like, wow, was he ever young?
I think he made himself look older because that was the character. He's like Wilford Brimley in Cocoon. Like, he really wasn't that old.
I looked that up. I think he was 86 or something when he filmed this movie. And then when he was in 18 again, I think he was like in his 90s.
Wow.
Oh my
I couldn't believe it. Yeah,
But he
I
always
couldn't
looked
believe
the
it.
same, like-
and it was
like
so
every time
funny
we
because
saw
when
him.
I saw him, I go, "Oh, he looks so young." That's what I said.
Yeah.
Because like I remembered him at 18 again. He looks much older then, so I was thinking, "Oh, he looks so young."
So they start this movie and they're starting kind of this loose premise of how these songs are all going to fit together, and then out comes the Bee Gees with the first song, and they introduce Billy Shears as Frampton, who's adorable in his little like white jumpsuit or white coveralls that say Billy on it. I mean, it's all just dandy. And I'm like, oh, so this is going to be like Mamma Mia. Maybe this is going to be okay. Maybe this is going to be okay. Maybe this won't be a complete mess. You know, because I'm like, all right, you're getting me. I'm like watching, I'm like, okay, you're getting me. It's going to be like, okay, they're going to put like all these songs together. And then once George Burns does a soft shoe to fixing a hole, I'm like, oh, there's some cracks in the wall. Oh, this is going to go south. And then once Mean Mr. Mustard comes in with the singing robots, I'm like, okay, this is what it's going to be. I get it. And then after that, and then the stuff in the middle almost doesn't count. And then I'm back in once the end comes around, when Strawberry Fields passes away for a few minutes. And I'm like, oh, we're back to the cute story. Right?
Aerosmith.
It's almost that thing you do, but with acid. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same movie. So anyway, so tell me why. So if we're going into this, so when did we know, for the people that haven't watched a lot, and maybe Mistress Carrie too, when did the movie just suddenly, for you, take a turn and go, oh, this is what's going on? So for me, it was George Burns doing a soft shoe, trying to sing Fixing a Hole. Anybody else?
I don't remember the exact moment. I feel like it was in like after 10 minutes. Don't know.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Don't know.
Okay.
Mr. Mustard.
I think I was too young to realize that it had gone off the rails. Like, to me, it was so fantastical and so weird from the jump that, like, I just accepted that as being the reality of it.
Okay.
Like, it was just like, okay, we're eating peanut butter and banana sandwiches. Like, that sounds weird, but we're just doing it. And, like, I just accepted it. My suspension of disbelief was on 12. And it never got dialed back. I was just like, I am accepting whatever happens.
Okay. You have a lot to accept.
Yes.
I dare say you have a lot to accept.
I want to say, I did want to say, maybe it's when I realized that there was literally no dialogue in the entire movie and George Burns was saying all the words for them. Which, as soon as that started happening, I'm like, what the hell is happening? Like, originally, I guess there was supposed to be dialogue, and they took it out. And I had that in trivia, but it's because they didn't like their British accents. But my God, that's what made it, to me, worse. I mean, there's literally no dialogue in the entire freaking movie.
Okay, but on that note, let's just talk about this for a second. We're going to do a movie about this British band, and we're not going to like the British accents, right? We're going to hold it in America when the lead character is actually from England and his best friends are from Australia. Well, we can't have any of that. The band that we're celebrating is from England. Well, let's not listen to any British accents. It's like, wait, what's going on?
Exactly.
Well, you got to remember how American audiences know the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton. No one has an Australian or British accent when they sing.
No.
Yeah.
It's only when they talk. You couldn't tell the Beatles were British during the songs.
Right.
And so I think for a lot of people in America in the 70s, I bet they didn't know Peter Frampton and the Bee Gees weren't American.
Well, as far as they know, Peter Frampton had an accent that sounded like
yeah. That's all right, good boy.
But let's look at it again. I'm going to get now, Carrie. I want you to keep count of how many times I defend this movie. This is for you.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, if you're going to have, it's easier to see to identify with a band that starts in the middle of nowhere,
Sure.
let's just say middle America, and has to go to the sliminess of South Hollywood. They're right on the strip there. They're right on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Like prostitutes and adult bookstores and drugs and scummy people and all that stuff right out of the gate. And that is more of, to me, in my opinion, more of a taking these young, cute, adorable young men. They're adorable. They're adorable.
They
young
were
men.
Coke, but they were adorable.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Whatever. They were that time, right? They were
That's why
adorable.
they're so skinny.
Right. Yeah, they're pretty skinny. And then putting them in the sleaziest of sleazy places. Whereas if they came from, say, Liverpool, which is kind of gross and is a shipbuilding town and all that, it's not as quite as much of a, like if they were from Liverpool, it wouldn't have worked. You know what I mean? Because it's more of a jump to go from innocent middle America to LA, I think. Right? So it makes more sense. The trouble is you're getting people that have Australian and British accents, so therefore we can't hear them ever.
Well, I think this movie was made for Americans. That's what I'm saying. Like,
100%.
Like, I don't think Americans would have been able to understand where they came from if they came from Liverpool.
Sure.
Because in the 70s, people didn't travel the way that they did. So it's like they had to find a way for middle America, who's the audience of this movie, who obviously loves the record, the original record, and loves the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton, but like, they've never traveled. So they're like, how can we make foreigners American so American audiences claim them as their own?
Right.
We have to completely erase the fact that they're foreign.
Yeah.
Well,
Jesus
you
Christ.
know,
They put them in a farm.
They
put them in a farm. They put them in a barn. I'm like, what is happening?
You couldn't have made them any cleaner looking. Like they really looked like, the most wholesome, regardless of anybody idea, whether they're doing lines of coke.
Other than the tight pants, which were totally acceptable and now would probably get you arrested in some states right now.
Sure.
Those
But like they looked like, like clean cut American, whatever, clean cut people. Like that, you're like, wow, these people are just like couldn't be more perfect. You know what I mean? Their smiles are like, Peter Frampton is all teeth.
He's all, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He is. And when he sings, he's all teeth. How about whenever they would ask, and maybe it's good because they can't act, so why make them talk?
It's
right?
not
They know they can't act.
Okay,
Like,
I want to
go
say
ahead.
that. Who knows if they can't act or not? Everybody gave them some shit about that. They didn't give them a freaking chance to act. There was no dialogue. How many times are I going to say that? They had literally no chance to act. What are they supposed to do with the horrible writing and that horrible script that they had? Oh, I want you to sit here and pretend like you're eating. Pretend that you're signing this contract and smile. Okay. So they're doing literally exactly what they were told to do. It's a shitty ass script. You can't act in any way. I mean, they were singing and they were like, fakely playing the guitar very badly and, not going with the beat of the drums or whatever. But I mean, other than that, what else are they supposed to do? There's nothing that they can do. It was a movie about nothing.
It's a proto Seinfeld. I will say that the level, the much as the Bee Gees were asked to act, was them looking astonished.
Yeah.
It was always them in a row going.
And there was nothing because that's what they were told to do. There was nothing to say.
And there was one scene. There's a Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds scene when they magically pop out of the billboard. Yeah. It was a dream. I understand it was a dream. It was Strawberry's like paranoid dream. Like that's what was going on. So they pop out of the billboard and they're looking at the four dancers, basically the sirens that are tempting them into the LA lifestyle. And at one point, like they're all turned to the right, looking at them. And Maurice, the one with the long stringy hair, Maurice Gibb, looks straight down the barrel of the camera and does a like that. It was like, oh my God. And the other time they looked down the barrel of the camera, I forgot when, but there's one when they did it on purpose and it was so unnerving. They're just looking. George Burns can look down the barrel. Not everybody else, please. George Burns
are looking into my soul.
Right, and think about this. George Burns is the omniscient storyteller of the movie, and it's an old vaudevillian guy at the soft shoe. He's the one informing us what's going on. Like, that's so not okay, but what are you supposed to do when your idea is, again, you have these guys that don't act, You can't hear them because they're Australian. Can we talk about Pete Frampton crying?
Oh,
Can we talk about Pete Frampton crying? Carrie, you have anything about Pete Frampton crying?
I do.
Hold on,
But
she's
you
chewing,
go,
sorry.
you go, Carrie.
My bad.
I'm eating popcorn because I'm so happy right now. I'm talking to a bunch of people about a movie I love, and they hate it, and I don't care.
No, that's fine. What?
No, I mean, it's cool to watch. I mean, it was kind of a fun thing that I did. I had like a little, movie
Claw
night
session.
and enjoyed watching it. And
But I
and there
think,
were
Carrie,
like I liked Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I liked that part of it. I liked the music, but honestly, I wish the music was a little bit more upbeat than it was. But I get it. It's because it's that album. But they sang so many amazing songs. I just hate that it's just that one album. And I get that's the point of it all.
Well, the White Album is on it as well, but no, it's one of those things like Jaws. Jaws is
Very
my favorite
slow.
movie, and I can pick it apart left and right and tell you the things that don't make sense. So
You
let's
know,
talk about Pete Frampton crying.
Oh yeah, here we go. Go ahead.
Boy, I know that he can't cry on cue. I get that. Like, he's not an actor. Like, actors can cry.
It's
They
hard
dredge
for
up-
actors to cry on cue.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of them like can't make the tears, but they can make the face, and they can think about that thing that made them so sad. Pete can't do that. So whenever he was crying, usually they give somebody fake tears.
I have that.
one fake tear. What did
Yeah.
they do? Like take a sprayer and just spray his face so that it was just water. I think it dripped at one point off the side of his face. I mean, granted, his girlfriend died fine, but it's like this just, oh my God, it was crazy. Like,
And
one,
Chris,
little less is more, guys.
Listen,
Less is
that
more.
wasn't
Yeah.
fake. You're
What?
gonna be amazed to know that those were real tears from him.
How did they do
Because
that?
he made himself cry. He had a really hard time trying to make himself cry, and he made himself cry by thinking about his friends that he lost and the recent Leonard Skinner plane crash.
Really? That many tears?
Yeah.
It seemed like an unnatural amount of tears. Well, then I stand corrected. He is obviously part of the acting method. He is in the Stanislavski school. He should be on Inside the Actors Studio next week.
You've never
I
Kim
apologize.
Kardashian ugly cried. You don't get it.
Yeah, I guess. My good.
But those
see
were
that.
real tears.
All right, so I'm wrong. I admit it. Hey, look. If I wanted to be wrong all the time, I'd stay with my ex-wife. Touch. Okay.
I'll
so-
never look at that scene the same again.
No,
I know, it's
he's
sad.
When
actually-
he's thinking about his friends like that.
That's
Yeah.
okay. All right. I'm wrong. So,
Well, I gotta say, the actress, the person that they chose for Strawberry, she was stunning. Like, I mean, she
Oh,
looked a
yeah.
lot like Rita Wilson and Sheryl Crow. She had that same
Sure.
appearance
It's-
look. Yeah,
isn't
She
she a
sounded like
singer-songwriter?
Sandy Farina.
yeah, she's a singer.
She's a very good voice.
Yeah, she does.
Well, they all
Yeah.
had good voices. There was
of
no
course.
bad performance. Even George Burns did fine. For what
You know,
George Burns
and-
does.
and by the way-
he did fine. What?
There's something.
No, I'm wrong. Mr. Mustard made me want to jump out the window. Sorry, I apologize.
Hey, Melanie, do you have trivia on him already?
Mr. Mustard, no.
Okay, no, I just don't want to steal any thunder. Here's one connection he does have to the Beatles. He was apparently in the movie Help,
Oh.
so there's a little connection there. Other than
If
that,
If you look up Sandy Farina on her Wikipedia, it says the American singer-songwriter and actress best known for her role in the film Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club.
There you go. Perfect.
That's because she didn't do that much.
Perfect.
She also wrote the song Kiss Me in the Rain for Barbra Streisand.
Yes, I
Yeah.
saw that.
And she was on Star Search in 1985.
wow.
And she's also a co-lead vocalist on Hands Across America.
where we reach for the stars and catch them. So look, as I was saying, this movie, if it were doing a Mamma Mia route, fine. Like you're
Never
trying to
saw it.
string all these things together, fine.
Okay.
I guess the things that worked for that fantasy musical thing. That's what I think. But the things that went off the rails, that were not only like trying to be funny, but then became uncomfortable for me, kind of ruins it. And also those scenes are padding. And for that, I point to She's Leaving Home, which is a tremendously sad song, but now sung by robots. First thing, what is happening? And secondly, they the Mean Mr. Mustard song where we have to hear him go, "I'm a dirty old man," and make dirty old man faces. You might as well just go, like, gross. And then When I'm 64 was a shame. To have someone speak like William Shatner doing his Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Like, it was that. Why? Just why? Why'd you have to do that? Why'd you do him dirty like that? That's all. Why could everybody else sang? Why couldn't you get him, like, really? Anybody? He made me feel I wanted to take a shower. That's all. That's all. That's all I have to say.
All I have to say about him is I thought it was funny how he had this super modern van with the robots, but then he's got like these little crocheted blankets and pillows and his little doilies in there. That's
right, he did. He had my grandmother's blanket, couch blanket.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. That's right. I forgot about that. That's cool. So I don't know. Hey, so far, you know, we're saying rights and wrongs. So Carrie, give me now again. I am guys. You know, this is my other co-host. You know me. I'm approaching this movie. I think I'm approaching this like I said, movies that I like, but I this is not a low down dirty shame moment, right, Jay?
Right.
That is a unredeemable piece of shit, and it's bad. It's a bad movie. Or I didn't see The Wraith. I think, you know, Carrie, you know what we can do? I'm approaching this like Oscar. Remember Oscar?
Yeah.
When we talked about Oscar?
Yeah, which is like, still one of my favorite movies ever.
And it's got some problems, but we're like trying to pick out, you know. So tell me why, besides it being a childhood thing, like what of this strikes you besides the childhood thing? Can I ask that? Is that a...
I think for me,
yeah.
There's always from new generations the wanting to go back and look at previous generations with fresh eyes, right? Mm-hmm. We always, especially now, younger kids look back at older movies and like half the plots of the movies we love could have been ended 10 minutes into the movie with a cell phone. But they didn't exist, and so the rest of the movie, this one, it's the same thing with Oscar. Like, there's briefcases everywhere. Like, had one person just said, can we get all the fucking briefcases? Movie over.
Yeah.
And so I think with something like Sgt. Pepper, to me, it's like a time capsule of 1978.
Sure.
It is state-of-the-art, like, bunny quotes, special effects, for what you could do with movies in 1978. I mean,
do you mean the lightsaber fight between Pete Frampton and Steve Martin? I want to repeat that sentence because it's ridiculous. The lightsaber fight between Pete Frampton and Steve Martin.
Lightsabers were all the rage in 1978. Everybody had them.
Oh my God.
How about the whole acid trippy looking scene with Alice Cooper, who... My God. And obviously this movie was made for people that were doing acid back then, because, I mean, why else would you like that part whatsoever? But sorry, but literally, look at it again. Like, it's just insane. But he also looks like the biggest pedophile I've ever seen in my life with the huge mustache. And he does, I don't know, he reminds me of Marilyn Manson's part when he was in Jawbreaker. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but they made him a pedophile in that, and he just gave me that creepy.
But everybody in the 70s looked like a pedophile. That's what I'm saying. Like, that was the look. The weird hair, the giant mustaches, the bell bottoms, the platform shoes. Like, looking back at the era when this movie was made with our eyes now, it's like, like the plaid suits, like everything was just weird. Like Peter Frampton's like tragic bangs and like all of it is just a mess. But that's what it looked like back then.
Right.
Like that was everything about 1978 is literally thrown in with the kitchen sink into a blender and they put it on film and was like, here.
Yep.
We know. Let me add to that.
I'll give you that.
Let's talk about everything at that time was a variety hour, right? Like on TV. Yeah. You had Donnie Marie. You had the Brady Bunch, which had like a 5-minute lasting long variety hour. No, but like there were other people like Captain and Tennille. Like it was like a weird variety. Like everything was like that. Like and also on kids level, like the HR Puff and Stuff people, like Sid and Marty Krofft, right?
Yep.
Look at the original Willy Wonka.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is an acid trip. All of it.
Yeah.
It's amazing any of us survived our childhoods with what we got exposed to in
Alice in Wonderland.
Especially the boat ride. The boat ride in Willy Wonka. With the chicken's head, yeah.
Oh my God.
So that's
It's
what I'm
great.
saying. Like, this movie is literally 1978 in a film. All of
Sure.
it. The fashion, the music, the special effects, and like even radio back then wasn't formatted the way that it is now. So you would listen to a radio station and hear the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton and Aerosmith and Alice Cooper and Tina Turner and like all that on the same station, which you would never hear today, really, and until recently when they came up with like these jack formats, which is literally just like a jukebox firing off whatever
Which
it
is
wanted
weird,
to play
yeah.
next.
It's an odd thing now, yeah.
I feel like they were trying to do a
Aerosmith,
Rocky
guys.
Horror.
Well, it's certainly that bonkers. It's as bonkers as a Rocky Horror, particularly for
Rocky
some of
Horror
the
is better,
situations.
though.
And Rocky Horror was not a hit when it came out. Rocky
wasn't.
Horror found an audience later because it was so kind of outlandish and
Out there.
weird. Yeah.
So,
So
Carrie,
maybe
how
they
about
need to
this?
have midnight showings of this movie.
Oh,
maybe.
God, I would love that. Oh, my God, are you kidding me? We're going costumes
Look what I started.
and find an equivalent to throwing toast. It would be so good.
Jay, I think you might be on something, and maybe that's what we're hitting upon here. And maybe that's what, and I'm thinking about this as I was listening to Carrie, is like, maybe it is absolutely 100% sincere to what it is in 1978. And the reason that people would like it now is because people, oh my God, guys, you realize that kids are wearing acid wash jeans again?
Yeah.
We used to make fun of people watch that used to wear that, and now they're back and they don't fit well either. But they just like it because it's from before.
I saw a TikTok with somebody that said, you know what would be, it was a kid, you know what would be so much easier if there was one phone that everyone in the house was connected to so that you could just, I swear to God, this kid was legit describing a landline and didn't know
Oh my
he
God.
was describing a landline.
Right. So,
It's so far from
yeah.
what was.
So maybe that's the thing that, like, back in the day, it didn't work because it was just a mess, and it still doesn't work. I mean, let's be honest, but no, it doesn't.
The writing, though, it's the writing. It could have been a lot better.
I know.
I think the
Oh, yeah, I
writer
agree.
was.
But it's
horrible.
sincere. It's sincere to 1978, and if you made a movie that tried to be as sincere to 1978 as this movie is, it would be retro, and it would be goofy, and it would be tongue in cheek. And it would make fun of 1978.
With the sound effects and all of that, like, weird stop animation stuff. Like, I think if you tried to do it, it would come across as false. Like, I don't think you could replicate it because you would be you would make a caricature out of it.
Sure.
Where
Yep,
this
I think
is
that's what I'm getting at.
legit. Yeah, 100%.
Yep. So
Now,
and how
Aerosmith,
else can you
guys.
get that? What's that?
I was gonna say Aerosmith. We gotta talk about the idea of that cover would not exist without this film because that is the origin.
And it's still on the radio today, and there are kids that think that is an Aerosmith song because of this movie.
Well, that's
I love Steven Tyler singing that song.
No, and
we knew he was going to be in it. My daughter is totally in love with Steven Tyler. And
Don't
we
tell
love
Steven
Aerosmith.
Tyler.
So,
He rolls that way.
I'm seriously, like, we just love him so much. And we couldn't wait to see him. We're like, when the hell are they coming out? It was like, what, at the very end for like 5 seconds? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that
It's
sucks.
like the
That
best
was
5
so
seconds
short.
of the movie, though. Like,
It's really good.
it's like, oh, Aerosmith and the giant
What's
neon
with-
dollar sign.
Guys,
And like,
It looks so young.
One question on that though. Everyone, including Aerosmith, is dressed as Boy Scouts. Like the uniform is very Boy Scout like. It's like, what's up with
They're
that?
dressed like cops.
Yeah.
You know, no, but with
Writing.
the they had the scarf and everything.
So I want to
asked
know.
Joey Kramer about this movie when I got to interview him once.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to ask you about Sgt. Pepper because I love that movie. And his only response was, "You're the one."
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I am the one.
I have a follow-up question for Joey Kramer. there was a fist fight between the two bands. It was 5-on-4, but Joey kept playing the drums. Just saying, because they're 4-on-4, and then he just had to keep the beat. Apparently,
screw it.
Well, there's always got to be that one person that just doesn't fight. It's like whenever you watch an action movie and the girl stands off to the side and just lets.
I hate that.
So do I. It's like get in there, bitch, and grab a vase and knock the guy out and win.
Yes. Because what's going to happen in 2 seconds if he gets your guy down? He's going to come after you in 2 seconds. Help him. Like, pick something up and hit him over the head.
The math is there, honey. Like, get in the fight.
Yeah.
If we talk about Aerosmith, we have to talk about Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yes.
And do no wrong.
The 12-man band, 9 tubes come down, 5 more people show up. How do they, when they show a concert, they have to split that check like 19 ways? But boy, were they coming out. Let me tell you, in D.C., they have the African American History Museum, and they have a bunch of stuff from Earth, Wind, and Fire, and like they have like the guitars and like the outfits that they wore, and that bass player with those pants. Oh my God, so good. They were so good.
They were really
so
good.
Just so good.
Awesome.
I went down this YouTube rabbit hole the other night. Of like these. Have you guys seen like these reaction videos that people do?
Oh, yeah.
They're like some of my favorite things on YouTube, where they put a camera on themselves and they watch something and just react to it. And there were all of these young African American kids watching "Stayin' Alive," the music video, not the movie. They didn't know the Bee Gees were white.
Awesome.
Oh my God, really?
I've seen it. It's awesome.
Of these younger, like 20-something African American kids who grew up listening to this music in the house, their grandparents, their parents, and literally like falling out of their chairs.
Yeah, they would stand up and walk away.
They're like, I can't. They're white, and they're and like one guy was like, they're not just white. They're white.
Yeah, very white. Very white. Very white.
That's funny.
No.
And so when you see a band like Earth, Wind, and Fire, the fact that the Bee Gees were put in the same caliber and given the same kind of cultural credibility, and the songs were as loved, and that there was never talk about cultural appropriation or anything like that. Like, that's just the music that was out then. And like, sure, these 3 Australian dudes are making funk music. Like, oh, whatever. Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. Let's put him in a movie with Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
And it
was great. That part was super good.
And Billy Preston for me too is like a win.
Sure, that's the guy at the end.
Yeah,
that gets everybody back with the horn. Yeah,
you know what's really weird about that,
in the
though?
middle of the movie.
They list him as old Sergeant Pepper. Like, so, I'm not kidding. In the
well, because he's in the Weather Vane and he comes back to life, and they make the Weather Vane after Sergeant Pepper, and then he comes back.
Yeah. But that's true. Then why did he change who he was?
like why did he become an African American man? Like,
exactly.
It was an old guy that had a heart attack.
It's just a little odd. That's all.
Yeah. Because that guy can sing better.
There you go.
Valid.
But then you know what? Then you know what? Then have him be that way at the beginning. Then have him be the guy leading the charge down the street. That's my only question. I don't care that he turned. I don't care that he turned into an African American. I'm saying that they never should have had either side. Like, so pick one. Like, so if you're preferring, if he's a better singer, then have him be the original Sergeant Pepper.
Sure.
Okay, and I have a question for you guys. Yep. Why is what's his name? The main BG guy there. What's his name?
Barry?
Yeah,
Barry.
with the big beard. Yeah. Yep. Why is he singing to his brothers very slowly? I want to turn you on.
Yeah, that was a weird moment. It was a weird moment.
Why is he singing that song to them? That was the weirdest thing ever.
And Melanie, that to me is the problem with the movie, is that it has these really neat moments, right? So the beginning scene where they set up Billy Shears and all that, very sincere, very nice. And then the scenes that Strawberry Fields sings to Billy are very sincere and very nice.
And the Long and Winding Road, I thought was sincere and really nice.
Yep, fantastic. Also, Once There Was a Way to Get Back Home, the Golden Slumbers moment, and then, boy, you got to carry that weight while they're pallbearers. Like, all of that is, like, legit. And then we have what Melanie just said. And then we have, again, Mean Mr. Mustard and When I'm 64. And she's leaving home sung by robots. Like, that's the thing that bugged me the most. Because you had something that could still have been 1978 sincere, still wouldn't have, like, insulted me or a little blasphemous to the Beatles. But then you have to ruin it with, oh, I'm a dirty old man. And, God.
Or how was that
Even
weird,
the benefit from Mr. Kite thing was neat, too. Like, that worked. Because it's
Donald
a circus
Pleasance
song. Donald Pleasance.
I want you so bad. Like, that was so weird.
So
At the beginning. Like, that was so odd.
I did not want to
the
see
problem
so
with the
bad.
movie. Oh,
The problem?
Okay. The major problem with the movie, besides there being no dialogue, is that I think the writer just said, okay, what songs do we want to put in this movie? Okay, once there was a way to get back home. Okay, so we just have to come up with this corny little like script that fits the song real quick.
Yeah.
You know, so he didn't care what he wrote as long as it could fit a little bit of that song in it.
Sure.
And I think it just shows that he's never written anything before that.
I think it's
maybe
a
he
matter
supplied the most Coke.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
So you guys know about the Coke, right?
Yeah.
Because you keep bringing it up. So
No, I think we're just assuming.
Actually, no.
I think
Okay,
we're
no,
just
no,
assuming.
There's a ton of it.
So Mike Shue, who you guys have had on the show that I've worked with for years, when Peter Frampton wrote his memoir, Mike Shue interviewed him, and I'm paraphrasing because this was a while back, but Mike and I have worked together for 20-something years. And Mike Shue knows how much I love this movie, and he and I have fought about it because he hates it and I love it. He talked to Peter Frampton about it. And Peter Frampton actually sued his manager because his manager was stealing money from him. And the reason why he got Peter Frampton to do this movie was because he was in financial trouble. And Peter Frampton claims his manager got him addicted to Coke so he could manipulate him and get him to do what he wanted with his career.
Okay, I didn't know that part.
He was
Wow.
stealing.
All
and
right,
that's in his book, and that's what he told. So Mike Shue was basically like, he didn't even want to do the movie, but he was a drug addict, and his manager made him.
Using it
When
against
you
you.
guys talk about the Coke, like, it's a legitimate factor in Peter Frampton being in this movie and the nefarious intent of his manager.
See? They're not nice. Just don't go in the showbiz, guys. Just don't go in the showbiz.
Just don't do the works, not even once.
Yeah, not even once. Not even once. What do you think? Can we go to TMI possibly?
All right.
It's time for TMI with Melanie.
Listen to this. I am in the bathroom right before the movie starts. And I'm in the stall, and there's no toilet paper.
Mine are at home in a display case above my bed. TMI, my friends.
TMI?
Too much information.
Say don't go there, but that's lame.
Now, here's Melanie with your timeless movie info.
Okay, Melanie, it's time for TMI. Let's go.
Okay, so the budget was $13 million. It grossed $20.4.
It's a hit.
Yeah. Aerosmith was the second choice to play the villain band. Kiss was actually approached first, but they turned down the role, fearing that the movie would damage its career and hurt its image.
Oh,
Wait,
stop.
Wait,
Interrupt
yeah, go
real
ahead,
quick.
Jay.
Sorry, this is an absolute layup. Okay.
Yep.
I
go
have
ahead.
a couple words to say, and that is Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park.
Yep.
That's my next sentence.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
So did meet Phantom of the Park in 1978. Yeah. So
How the hell did that not ruin them?
Yeah.
It was made by Hanna-Barbera.
Aerosmith was
That's
also
a worse
too large
movie.
to get ruined
It was
as
made by
well.
That's a worse
Hanna-Barbera.
movie. That's a worse
Oh my
movie.
god.
Debatable.
Yeah, it's like a cartoon. Oh, also this was a comic strip, you know. This movie was actually a comic strip. And it's extremely very rare to find it. Probably extremely expensive. So Mistress Carrie, you might want to try to find one of those.
Seriously, like APB for anyone that can find one, please email me and let me know how much I need this in my life.
You would love that.
I got to get this into my life.
Alice Cooper was in what?
He said, "I got to get this into my life."
Oh,
That's
a
a
good
Beatles
one.
song. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
You're welcome.
yeah. Alice Cooper was in rehab at the time and was granted temporary leave for 3 days to record his vocals and shoot his scenes.
No wonder
Awesome.
he was probably creepy. That's what you picked up on. The guy was literally going through withdrawals in
He
rehab.
was really creepy.
When I saw the image
And
of him, I thought
Alice
he was.
Cooper.
Yeah,
He just
but when I
looks
saw his image,
creepier.
on the preview or whatever, I thought it was Frank
Yeah.
Zappa.
Yeah,
I did too.
He
Looked
just
like
looks
Frank
kinda
Zappa.
gross in that. Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr both attended the premiere and hated the film, and John Lennon and George Harrison refused to see it. Okay, this is just me. I feel so bad for the Bee Gees because they tried to get dropped from the film 2 weeks into production, and they wouldn't let them out of it. Several years after the release of the movie, the Bee Gees expressed deep dissatisfaction, saying that the band knew that after just several days of filming that the movie was going to be a complete failure. The band felt that the movie was too goody-goody in nature to attract audiences and felt that the director, Michael Schultz, directed the musical sequences in a very unimaginative fashion. They also felt that the involvement with the film added to the band's declining popularity and that some of the most vicious criticism of the entire soundtrack was leveled at the band itself and that it hurt to be labeled as Beatles imitators.
No.
So everybody hated it. For the finale of the film, where they wanted an enormous amount of celebrities to sing Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, formal invitations were engraved and sent to virtually anybody in the entertainment industry. The ones who replied were treated to first-class transportation to LA, limos, luxury hotels, champagne, catered dinners, and private tents for each of the stars in the studio's garden room. When asked about the film in 1979 interview, George Harrison expressed his sympathy for Robert Stigwood, Peter Frampton, and the Bee Gees, acknowledging that the band had all worked very hard to achieve their success before making Sgt. Pepper's. And Frampton and the Bee Gees, he said, I think it damaged their images and their careers, and they did not need to do it. He said it was just like the Beatles trying to do the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones can do it better. And he said, but for me, I would like to say that I do not think that was just the problem because they all sang very good. Every person that was in there, I thought, sang really good. That's not the problem. The problem is that the movie was just horrible. It's a shitty movie. There's no dialogue. I don't think it's because they couldn't sing songs. I mean, they sang. So I don't know. The shooting script called for Peter Frampton's character to. Oh, this is a good one. So the shooting script called for Peter Frampton's character to kill Steven Tyler's. When it came time to film the scene, Aerosmith threatened to walk out. They said there's no fucking way that Steven is going to get directly offed by Frampton, said Joe Perry. It's got to be an accident the way that it was supposed to be in the original script that we fucking agreed to.
Yeah,
and then, what?
I said, yeah, Joe Perry.
Yeah, he was like, no way is he going to be offed by Frampton. Then they finally agreed to compromise with Sandy, which is Strawberry Fields, accidentally pushing Tyler's character to his death. That's it.
All right. Super.
Yeah, no, I totally disagree with like everybody that blames them. It's not their fault. You cannot like blame people for being once they're in a role and they're being directed and they're told what to do. I mean, their singing was great.
And $13 million in 1978 was a lot of money that the studio had already committed to make this movie. Yeah. And they knew that if they lost the Bee Gees or Frampton or anything, that they were going to lose all that money.
Now RSO was behind it, right? Like the record company was like sort of behind the
same
film.
ones that had Grease.
Did you notice they kept showing that little cow symbol, the red little cow symbol?
Yeah, very similar.
It was
very similar. It wasn't the same.
Pig. Yeah. It's a pig. But I noticed that because I had that on my records.
Right. But it's funny, like, the record company is defunct, and I read somewhere, and it says that you could find or like take a look at the U2 rejection letter that like this band this record company could have had U2 and turned them down. It's like hindsight.
Oh my God.
Hindsight being 2020.
Wow.
It's like ouch.
Have you guys seen the Bee Gees documentary?
Yes, phenomenal.
Yeah.
No.
So the Bee Gees, I went down this huge like tangent of watching documentaries during the pandemic, and it's a docu-series, right? It's like 2 or 3 episodes, and it goes through because it was pretty long. I remember I watched it a couple years ago, but it documents the Bee Gees' entire career.
All right.
And
that's pretty good.
I refuse to believe that this movie had anything to do with the downfall of the Bee Gees as much as the cultural shift from going from the 70s disco stuff into the 80s. Like, it's all spelled out in the documentary, and it literally happened overnight. And a lot of that blame they actually put on a radio DJ from
Steve Dahl.
From Detroit? Yeah.
No, from Chicago.
Pittsburgh. Oh, yeah,
no, Steve Dahl from Chicago. And we went to the baseball stadium.
Yes. And basically like turned rock fans against the Bee Gees and against disco in general, and literally overnight.
Yeah.
It's the way that the 80s metal died when Smells Like Teen Spirit came out. Like, it was just a cultural shift that everybody knew was coming. And it just overnight happened. And so I'm not going to let anybody blame this movie on damaging Frampton or the Bee Gees' careers. Like, that was coming. The cultural shift in music was coming already, whether or not this movie ever came out.
Well, they also said, too, that they were, like, really addicted to coke, too. Really going through a lot with the Bee Gees with the cocaine. So I forgot. One of them was severely addicted to cocaine. I don't remember which one.
Well, I know the other brother was really addicted, Andy, who ended up dying. But
if you guys haven't seen the documentary, I highly recommend it. It's really, really good. Because it also highlights like their brilliance, the songwriting brilliance that the Bee Gees have, which nobody can deny that.
I would like to watch that.
Two things. It's on HBO Max, as far as I know. I'm sure, Chris, you could rent it if you don't have HBO Max. But the two things that stuck out in my head from that, and it's really, really interesting, is they're going over a bridge in Florida to recording studio, and they're just thinking of stuff to write, record, and the bridge has got this, and he goes, and then he comes up with jive talk, and like the opening sound of jive talk, and like just from going over the bridge, the little tempo that it has. And the other thing is that their drummer, his mother was really, really sick, so he had to take a plane and leave while they're in the studio, and they were just about to start writing "Staying Alive" because they were making music for the movie for Saturday Night Fever. So they took the song Night Fever, they took the drum track and looped it, and they slowed it down, and they came up with they started putting bass and guitar to it. Next thing you know, it's Staying Alive. It's just like, it was like a really, really neat. Cool. Like, and it was all inventive, by the way, because it wasn't something you could do like today, like sampling. Like they did it and they looped it, they cut the tape, and they were like, you see them literally have it like across the room. Like draping it around like a broom handle and stuff like that. It's really, really cool.
That's why the song Frankenstein is named Frankenstein, because of all the tape cut up in the recording studio when they were cutting that song together. And somebody said it looks like the Frankenstein monster, because he thought it was weird that I brought it up around Halloween, and he was like, it has nothing to do with that. And I was like, kind of heartbroken, but that's where it came from, because that's what they used to have to do, is slice that story about the bridge. So you know who Billie Eilish is, and her brother Phineas that produces and helps her write all her songs. The weird sound effect loop in Bad Man is a looped recording of a crosswalk alert in like Australia. He did the same thing you're talking about with the bridge with the Bee Gees, is that he just heard this everyday noise that the rest of us would hear, and heard it as the bass of a song, and they went out there with a microphone and recorded it, and he looped it and turned it into one of Billie Eilish's biggest songs.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
So that's how you know you're a musical genius.
Yeah.
When you hear something as music that the rest of us hear as like annoying noise.
Yeah.
And the Bee Gees.
Final Judgment? Yeah, I know. They're phenomenal.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right.
It's time now for Final Judgment. Are you ready to rubber stamp this bitch? Here's the Final Judgment.
All right, time now for Final Judgment, where we talk about how well this movie holds up today, because it's no longer about opinion. It's about fact. Let's go with Chris.
Oh, sure. Hi. So, does it hold up? No. So, the reason it doesn't hold up is because And it's because of two reasons. One, you brought it up, Carrie, and I agree that it is a microcosm of 1978. That is a new revelation to me. And because of that, it is endemic of its time. So you can't take it out, and therefore you can't make it again, because it only works for then. And if you were going to make something that looks like it, it would look retro and goofy and whatever. It's already goofy. We don't need it to be retro goofy. That's the first thing. Second of all, it doesn't hold up, mainly because, like I said, some of the songs, if this were a Mamma Mia movie, if they were just trying to string stuff together, the songs that work, and the songs that don't work are kind of, in my opinion, insulting to the Beatles. See When I'm 64, See When She's Leaving Home, See Me, Mr. Mustard, and even Maxwell Silverhammer is a bit much. So I think that was a little insulting to the Beatles. The rest of them were fine. I don't care if the Bee Gees want to sing to their brother about whatever, or even and Donald Pleasance saying "I Want You So Bad," which is such a good song, but boy, to me it just kind of puts a black mark on what you should know about the Beatles. So if this is your intro to Beatles, maybe not so much. But it made me, again, every time I see something about the Beatles, like the movie Yesterday, which a lot of people don't like, but I liked, and anything like that, it's a good movie, I think. Just when you hear Beatles songs, even if it's sung by different people, like, you forget just how goddamn good they were. Everybody knows they're good, but then when you start listening again, you're like, oh, that's right. They are an absolute miracle on the planet next to, like, Beethoven and Mozart. Like, you can't put songs together like that anymore. You just can't. That's it, bottom line.
Nobody did before then either.
Nope. You're right.
They weren't even together a decade. They made all that music in like 7.5 years in their 20s.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, anyway, that's my take. We'll go to Mistress Carrie.
For me, I mean, you know I love the movie. I don't care that it has an 11 on Rotten Tomatoes. I looked at the score.
Carrie, if you're looking at in terms of Spinal Tap, that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I love Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
But to me, if you really, and I agree, this should not be your introduction to the Beatles. And there have been great movies about that, like Yesterday, I think is great. Mm-hmm. What was the movie that Sean Penn was in that Eddie Vedder recorded the Beatles covers for?
Oh.
You know the one I'm talking about, right? Like even that movie is really good.
Milk? Is it Milk?
No. That's about Harvey Milk.
Yeah.
No, I forget
I don't remember.
But like those are better introductions to the Beatles. By the way, in film.
I have a question. Was Across the Universe any good?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's good. Okay. And that's a Mamma Mia of Beatles songs.
Okay.
Yes.
That's making a story out of Beatles songs. So yes, that's a good one.
But to me, I'll just list, right? And I challenge anyone to find a movie that is this heavy in celebrities for the time. So we already talked about the main cast, right? So Peter Frampton, the Bee Gees, you've got Steve Martin at the height of his career, Aerosmith, Alice Cooper, Earth, Wind and Fire, Billy Preston, and George Burns, all at the height of their careers. And the scene that you were talking about at the end where they sent out the VIP, you know, and they basically bribed heavyweights of their time. It's the only movie where you are going to see Jack Bruce, Carol Channing, Rick Derringer, Donovan, Dr. John, Leif Garrett, who I still pine for to this day. Hart was in the movie. Etta James. They're in the final scene. Niles Lofgren, John Mayall, Curtis Mayfield, Robert Palmer, Wilson Pickett, Anita Pointer, Bonnie Raitt, Helen Reddy, Cheetah Rivera, Johnny Rivers, Seals and Croft, Shauna Knott, Del Shannon, Tom Stevens, Tina Turner, Frankie Valli. Who else was in there? Hank Williams Jr., Johnny Winter, Wolfman Jack, and I've still left out about another 50 people. Mm-hmm. So to me, seeing this movie at least once is an absolute must because you're never going to see all of that boiled down into 1 hour and 53 minutes ever again.
Right.
And I don't think you could make a movie like that and get the level of celebrities at the time to do anything.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to say, and get away with it.
Whether they got away with it or not, like I mean, look, the movie made $7 million based on the math, right?
Sure, yeah.
Which in 1978 was a lot of money. But I don't think in this day and age that no matter how good the script, I find it hard to believe that anyone could get that level of talent in the same room at the same time to do anything.
Sure.
So gotta see it.
Because everything's contracts and whatever.
Yeah. But it just wouldn't be possible, but somehow they were able to pull it off back then.
I mean, I've had people say no to the show. I mean, it could be just their excuse, but I've had people say no to the show because they have like this agent, and they're like saying, "I don't think they'll let me do it," type of thing. Like contract wise, I'm like, sure, okay, fine, whatever. But like on a higher level, like you got this person that everything's courtesy of this, courtesy.
These
of that,
are literally the biggest names in entertainment of the time.
Yeah. It would have cost like $1 billion probably to get everybody on those
The only two people missing from this movie are John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John, and frickin' Luke Skywalker at this point.
Because they were still flying up in the air on their.
Asked and he said no.
Did he really?
They're still flying in the car at the end of Grease.
Yeah.
Which I still don't understand.
Yeah. That's a musical wacky moment right there for you too.
I didn't see Hart. They kept clicking on every person to see who they were, but I did not see Hart, and I grew up with them.
Oh, Flag Day.
What?
Flag Day has the Eddie Vedder, Sean Penn thing. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Melanie.
Oh, now that I don't have anything else to say.
No, I meant for your. Yeah, well, okay. yeah. I don't know everything. Right. This movie, I don't even want to say whether it does or not.
I Am Sam. It's I Am Sam is the movie I'm talking about.
Oh, all right, because Eddie Vedder does music for Flag Day.
Yeah, but they met, I think, on the I Am Sam. I Am Sam came out in 2001.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
All the music in the movie is Beatles. Okay. And there's really great covers on it.
Okay. Go ahead. Okay, oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say it doesn't hold up because I don't think it held up then. It doesn't hold up now. And there wasn't really a cult following with it either. It's not like Rocky Horror that really didn't do good at the time and then had a huge cult following after that. Even like, even my teenage girls like Rocky Horror Picture Show. And my daughter loves musicals and loves music and loves all the music that I do that I got from my mom, like passed down from my mother to me, to her. She was watching this going, what the hell are we watching? She was like, oh my God. She's like, no, but we enjoyed watching it because we kept pausing it to like talk about it. But at the same time, we just both agreed that it was the worst movie ever. But it was fun to watch. Like you said, you have to watch it once. You just have to.
Yeah, you have
to. And so yeah, you just have to watch it once. But yeah, but so I don't know. I'm gonna say it doesn't hold up, but I know why you like it because I'm the same way. Of like if you like something when you grew up with it, and it kind of gave you that kind of home feeling, that comfort feeling, you're always gonna like that, and you're gonna watch it regardless. And I have things like that too that I love that other people don't like. So I totally understand that. Wholeheartedly
agree on that. No, I don't think it does either. But it's just I don't know. It's like. I guess sometimes if you're watching something and obviously none of us have that connection that Carrie has, but so that's where she gets this warm and fuzzy. So we're all watching it for the first time in a long time, and then it didn't probably warm us up the same. Like, you know what I mean? Like because if it did, then I think we would go, oh wow, this really does kind of like for a nostalgic sense, it does hold up. And I never got that because it was the stuff like the robots and the mustard guy who really bugged the shit out of me. He really bothered me. I wonder
if it's like an age thing where like if you saw it when you were young enough, like the robots and all of that stuff, like I thought that was cool, and all the sex stuff that you brought up, like that went over my head, I think.
Because I don't know. I was watching it with my brothers as a kid, but I just remember being odd then. Like we were all kind of going, meh.
It made me feel uncomfortable at 5.
Yeah, I also was. I was just thinking too. Like I said, and I get why they had those certain songs in it, but the whole time I'm watching it, like the first song that comes out is kind of more upbeat, and you're like, okay, and then the rest of it is so gloomy, like.
Sure.
I mean, it's just like there's just such gloomy, sad kind of songs, except for just a few of them weren't. But I just kind of felt like, oh my God, they have so many better songs that are amazing, and I just wish that they put them in that movie.
And they made,
something that would make you want to get up and sing or something with it. But you were just, to me, it was just really, it just felt like really long, and they just kind of felt like gloomy songs. You know what I mean? Like they weren't upbeat as I would have liked it to be.
The thing thing at the end, which bugged me, was that they were doing this during the ensemble section. They changed the way the song goes, where they're like, "The Lonely Hearts Club Band." Like, I was like, "Whoa,
don't screw with it.
I was like,
Right.
guys, you
Stop
don't
it.
fix the Beatles.
Yeah, no, you can't change it.
You can't improve
Don't touch
on the
it.
Beatles."
So let me. I forgot to tell my story. I'll do that, and I think that's probably about it. But so I watched this movie Saturday morning. I rented it. And
I'm
so
sorry that you spent your money.
That's okay.
Yeah, we all had to
fine.
spend our money. It wasn't rentable.
Wasn't
It wasn't streamable for free. I mean,
So anyway, so I'm like, I'm gonna watch this movie. I'm like, I'm not gonna subject my wife to this. So I get up earlier than her. I just get up. I can't go back to sleep. So I get about 6. I'm like, I'll put on Sgt. Pepper's, and I'll wake her up about 8. She asked me to wake her at 8. Okay. So I watch that. I get up to about Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'm like, I gotta go get her. So I pause it. I go upstairs. Hey, what you doing? What'd you do this morning? I had breakfast, blah, blah, blah. And I watched Sgt. Pepper's, and I started explaining it. Up to that point, it's like, that's odd. I said, I know, it's odd. I think I might want to watch that. Really? So
That explains the half.
So anyway, yeah, that explains a half. So no, but it gets better. So yesterday we went to go see the movie 65 with Adam Driver. It's pretty good. Not gonna lie, it's good. Dinosaurs and space travel. It's good stuff. Anyway, so then we watched that. We came back. It was late. She's like, let's watch Sgt. Pepper. I'm like, okay. Started it from the beginning. Got up to, now it's later, right? It's later now. It's not super late, but it's late enough. Around about the time is now when I start to peter out. It's later now. She falls asleep at Earth, Wind, and Fire part. So, this morning, I don't watch it again in the morning, and then we're doing stuff, and we're teachers, so we have school stuff, and she's doing school stuff. She's like, I'm going to finish Sgt. Pepper's. I'm like, holy shit. So we pick it up from Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'm like, that's when I finally saw it. God. So I watched up to Earth, Wind, and Fire, then I watched all of it, and then I watched from Earth, Wind, and Fire to the end again. So I saw it 2.5 times.
wow.
I got my money's worth.
Thank you
That's
for your
awesome.
sacrifice.
I know. I hope Pete Frampton gets a nickel from me. That's all I can say.
I
So-
wonder, like, what they had to pay the Beatles, like how that royalty thing works.
I don't know.
With because obviously they're going to get published, like songwriting publishing.
Yeah.
Right.
So I wonder, like, how much of that $13 million budget
Yeah.
had to go to actually being able to use the music.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah, that's-
3/4 of it,
Yeah,
judging
a
by
lot.
the special effects.
And then the rest
We'll give
of
you
it's
5
cocaine.
bags of Coke,
Yeah.
and they pay in Coke.
Individual lysergic.
That's how they got the ensemble at the end. They're like, just
Yeah.
grab it. It's a buffet.
Coke.
I literally could not believe how skinny Peter Frampton was. I was like, oh my God, he
Yeah.
must weigh 90 pounds soaking wet.
And it was literally, it's in his book. It's the drugs. I'm gonna have to go back.
I
And
know
talk
it
to
is. You can
about
tell
it.
it is.
Oh yeah.
I'd read that.
That's why they were all skinny back then. They were all
Yeah.
sticks, all of them.
And and when he jumped off the building, that's why Sgt. Pepper had an easy time bringing him back up because he was so little.
It doesn't weigh
Like, yeah.
Right.
Boy.
I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was our show, everybody. I'd like to thank Mistress Carrie for joining us here today, and
Guys,
tell
thank you
us,
so much for having me back.
That's great.
tell us
Thank
once
you
again,
for coming.
tell the audience how to listen to you.
The Mistress Carrie Podcast is a rock lifestyle podcast that interviews new rock stars, old rock stars, instrument manufacturers, roadies, music producers, kind of everything under the sun. And you can find the podcast, my video show, Cocktails in the War Room, my radio shows, all of that at mistresscarrie.com. You can find me
Wow.
on social media too.
That's awesome. That's you got a lot going. That's great.
Very busy. But I always
know.
have time for you guys because this is so much fun, even when you make me watch terrible movies like The Wraith.
I know, that was
We
a
had to
bad
watch
one. That was a bad
Oscar.
movie.
We watched Oscar and Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Oscar
Yeah, all right,
is a
so
good movie, and you know it. You
No,
said you liked it.
I did. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Selective memory.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank
we should
Steve
have you back on
Lavoie.
for Tommy. Just kidding.
Oh God.
Gosh.
Actually, a friend of mine, Kurt, he mentioned. He said you should put it back to back with "Can't Stop the Music," the Village People movie.
Oh God, I never even heard of that.
Me
Yeah.
either.
So no, the worst movie I've ever seen as far as a musical was Head with the monkeys.
Yeah, that's
Oh
bad.
God.
So anyways, I'd like to thank.
Too.
Yeah, well, good luck with that one though. It's bad.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to thank Steve Lavoie for our vocal imaging and Draco and the Malfoys for our theme music. And also like to have you please click like on this video and subscribe to our channel, and be sure to hit the bell icon to get notified when we release new stuff. And tell your friends, please. And I am Jay Fortier, and I'm along with, once again, Chris Martineau and Melanie Howerton. I'd like to thank you again for joining us here on the Film Crickets. And until next time, movies may not age like a White Claw, but we drink it anyway. Bye.
True.
Or 5.
Chirping about movie.